Welcome back, travelers, and as you can see, this is a very different video from the usual color results videos. What I mean by that is basically that instead of being two colors, such as bringing white with red or green with black, it's mono blue. We're doing a monocolored video, finally! I know, a lot of people have been asking for it, and blue was the most common one. So, I'm going with mono blue this time around. Now, there will be slight differences in the way that this is structured due to the fact that there's not like a core thing versus another core thing as far as the beliefs and dominance in the colors, because it's literally just one color. So, let's just jump into it and see what we can come up with. Okay, so core thing that we're going to talk about, what does blue want? We can figure it out with just one word. If we can distill the essence of blue into one thing out of everything, the one word that we could use would be perfection. Every color has a thing about it that is specific. Blues is perfection. And it reaches perfection. It has different definitions of perfection depending on how it works, what it wants to go through to get to that point might vary, but at its core, blue is about finding perfection in some way. For the more nuanced aspects of blue, we can look at the enemies of blue and the allies. In this particular case, this is kind of where the whole differences would go, but we're going to just look at all four colors that are not blue and see how blue views them. For instance, its enemies are red and green. When blue looks at red, it sees a very emotional color. And blue does not like that. Blue sees such an emotional color, such an unstable color, that it thinks to itself, that's just a code violation waiting to happen. If I let that thing anywhere near what I'm trying to do, it's all gonna fall apart. It's all gonna go just, and I'm not gonna have any. All my work has been for nothing. Why red? Why? However, blue can also look at red and say, you know, red, that's a really crazy idea, but with the right tweaking, that could be a really great idea. So, like all the colors, there's a good side and a bad side from blue's perspective. The emotion, it could do without, but the creativity it can respect. From blue's point of view, green is irrational. Green tries to find a sense of purpose and belonging in the world. There's an order to things that is natural. There's a way things are supposed to be. You're not supposed to, you know, a fly is not meant to kill an ape kind of deal. These are all kind of just, you have a hierarchy of things of the animal kingdom. And there's a way that things should be done. We were not given wings, we should not fly. And blue says, well, that doesn't make any sense because we're smart enough to make airplanes, so why not make an airplane and fly? Why not make a helicopter? Why not attach bird wings to your back and go... That's more of a red idea, but you get the idea, is that blue wants that innovation that green is too afraid to do. From blue's perspective, it's afraid. But then blue can respect green's wisdom, because green has lived. Green is all about life. Green is about like kind of just absorbing what the world has to give you, that worldly wisdom, like a monk. And blue sees that and is like, that's just a form of knowledge. That's another way of looking at being smart. I can appreciate that, because I can use that to attain perfection, attain enlightenment, attain nirvana. So then there's blue's allies, white and black. Blue looks at white and goes, cool, that structure, that's simple, you got graphs, I love graphs. And like, you got these particular things that all fit so perfectly. Perfection, I love it, it's fantastic. But then white also has a superstitious side. It believes that there is a right and a wrong way to do things. And blue can respect that. Blue can respect that there are rules. Blue loves rules. But when those rules might seem arbitrary, such as you can't eat fish on this particular day because that was when the giant whale came and ate the entire city. We do this in honor of those people that were eaten by a whale. And blue's like, well, first off, a whale's not a fish, so why does that make any sense? So blue might find those things to be getting in the way of the progress that it is going towards. White sees blue doing something like stem cell research and has some qualms because they're like, well, that's baby cells. And they're like, well, they weren't going to be used for anything anyway, so why are you upset? And white's like, because I am! And blue just isn't like that. Blue isn't like the way that kind of all goes together, because it has an idea of going forward, going upward to infinity and beyond. Now black. blue and black, they got some friendship going on, some very, very strange friendship going on, because blue sees black and goes, you're willing to go as far as you need to, which is kind of the exact opposite of the problem that white has, is that black has no superstition when it comes to that. Black will just go for it, and blue loves that. Blue loves that for whatever the cost, do it. Do what you have to do to become stronger, to become greater, to become more than you already are. Blue's all about that. Blue loves that. And when it sees black doing that, it's like, great job. The problem is that black, according to blue, is very, very short-sighted. Because when blue looks at black and sees that they're literally signing a contract, selling their soul, blue goes, maybe don't do that, because then you'll have to pay for that later on, and that might get in the way of another plan that I had doing, and another thing that I had an appointment for, and all this other stuff. So when blue sees that, it goes, black, don't do that, stop. And it did it. Okay, have fun. I'm just gonna continue my Sudoku puzzle. So blue's strengths. You can talk about what blue is very good at, what it is best at. And if you think about it, it's pretty obvious. The two main things that blue's got are the fact that it is smart and it is rational. Some of the ways it sees the other colors. We can talk about what it is that makes blue so strong, other than the fact that it's the favorite color of the people that make magic, and they decide to just give it all the draw spells and all the crazy stuff and planeswalkers that are over powerful. But that's beside the point. What we're all talking about right now is the fact that blue is smart. Big surprise, big reveal. Blue is the smart color. Blue is the color that is able to see a situation and appropriately respond to it. Extension of that is that blue is a rational color. It's rational, it sees things the way they are, and it has a set way to respond to it. If it sees like a loved one and the loved one is in danger, blue can respond to it in a calm manner, because they're not going to let their emotions get in the way of what they're doing. There's a time and a place for emotions. Blue thinks that time is far, far away, and that place is nowhere near them. The fact that blue pushes those emotions away in the first place is actually part of one of its weaknesses. It has a tendency to be obsessive. If it becomes enraptured in this one particular thing, then everything else just fades away. Everything else does not matter anymore, because all blue wants to do is get that thing done. And because of that, it can miss a lot of the bigger picture things. A lot of the things that are coming around from the sides, it's going to get blindsided by. It's the whole idea of, I'm working on this super powerful weapon that's going to stop the bad guys. Well, the bad guys just blew up the lab you were in, so working on that is not going to help you much, is it? So that's one of the weaknesses of blue. Once again, by extension of that whole obsession thing, there's the fact that blue can be a know-it-all. The fact that you have figured out every single possibility, that you have gotten all the different things figured out, means that when somebody throws you a curveball, when something extremely unexpected comes out of nowhere, then it can be very hard for blue to deal with it. It can be very hard for blue to respond properly, because there's nothing in the rule book that talks about that. And blue just kind of goes, well, give me some time, get back to me, and then I'll figure out a way to deal with that. So we've talked about its weaknesses, blue's strengths. We've talked about the way blue views the other colors. We've talked about blue. And that brings us to the last two things, the best two things, the things that we all want to know about, the two characters, the hero and the villain. Who are they? Blue's is super, super obvious, I think. They'll probably be more obvious once I say it. The hero, of course, is Spock from Star Trek. Spock is it is only logical. That's him. He's blue. He is literally blue. He talks about how emotions, like that's his big thing. Every other line they gave him was about how emotions aren't good. And then he would have like once every few years, he would have this just immense like influx of emotion, and he's constantly having to try and keep everything under control. He's constantly trying to see things according to a particular system, and he's basically the best example of a mono blue hero that we can come up with, that I have seen in media. He epitomizes the facets of blue in its purest form. So while Spock was super straightforward, it doesn't really require a lot of explanation to kind of show that. One of my favorite villains, because he's funny, and he's got this, like, he's got a nice quirk and like a very unique weakness, the Riddler. Now, obviously there's a bunch of different iterations of the Riddler. You've got Jim Carrey's Riddler, who was off the wall crazy, definitely blue-red. And then you had the Adam West Riddler, who was his own kind of crazy. But what I want to talk about, what I'm going to mention, is the Gotham Edward Nygma Riddler. Because this guy was very interesting. He kind of starts off as a good guy-ish. He's just really weird. He's very much involved with riddles, information kind of thing, and he has a sense that there's one way to make a riddle. There's one answer. There was, I believe, there was actually an episode where he was kind of losing his touch, and he would give a riddle, and then somebody would give him an answer that's technically correct, but not what he wanted, because he was allowing his emotions to kind of like rattle him. And every time he got too emotional, he would fail. He would become much weaker because of it. He would have an outburst and wind up strangling his girlfriend. So, like, Riddler was a good example of a blue villain, because he put an importance on knowledge. He put an importance on smartness. He believed there was a perfect way to do things, but that whenever things started to go awry, he would have a plan. But if you basically went directly opposed to his plan and did something that he was not expecting at all, then you won. And the fact that he would allow Batman and other people, not Batman in the case of Gotham, but like allowing the good guys a chance to win simply by solving his riddles, simply by proving that they were worthy of living based on how smart they were, kind of goes into that idea of there is a way to create a perfect system. A perfect system would be, a perfect system for a villain would be one in which only somebody who wins could get out. And if they're dumb, they don't deserve to live. They don't deserve to make it through. And you see several characters who are not clever enough to get past his riddles. They wind up getting knocked out. And then, of course, you have characters who are so brute force, they just break whatever the riddle was talking about and they don't even care. So you kind of get to see both sides of the blue's weakness there, I guess, in that they are obsessed with, he's obsessed with riddles, he's obsessed with this one thing, but also the fact that if you break the riddle, if you break the box, the puzzle box, then you get what's inside anyways. All of that said, I hope you guys really enjoyed this mono blue version of the color test results. Obviously there's only 4 other monocolored videos I could make. I believe there's about 4 dual colored ones I can make as well. And after I get through those, I intend to start to have a few special videos that some of you have been asking for, but that's very far flung in the future. Next month, green-white. It's already been decided, but you guys can obviously still comment and find out what the next iteration of this series will be. Until then, travel well.